So tell me if you've heard this one before, that firearms has become the leading cause of death in children. If you're like me and you're a citizen of the internet, then yeah, you basically can't go more than a week without seeing someone trot that fact out there. The only problem? It's entirely untrue, and we're going to show you how and why today in this video. So guys, let's get into it. So the University of Michigan back in 2022 conducted a study which sensationally claimed that for the first time ever, firearms were the leading cause of death in children and adolescents. Predictably, like a dinner bell for piranhas, the media, politicians, and gun grabbers rejoiced at the news as they leveraged it in calling for more gun control to include bans and confiscation. Remember though, no one's coming for your guns, right? How inconvenient for them that it's not just untrue, it's extremely untrue. It's not even close. It's beyond misleading. It's an outright lie. Now, it's important, though, to give the devil his due, and sensationalist headlines it did make. Read the April 22nd, 2022 article from NPR. Various permutations of the exact same claim emerged like mosquitoes in spring across the media and social media as anti-self-defense advocates trumpeted the facts to anyone who was stuck listening or scrolling. In the first NPR article, which references the study from the University of Michigan, they trot out the usual misleading information about there being greater than 40,000 gun-related deaths each year in the United States, while of course neglecting to mention that the overwhelming majority of them come from suicides, as well as the even 100% inaccurate claim that they make that, quote, about 10% of those deaths, 4,357 in total, were children, end quote. The only problem is that unless your definition of children includes 18 and 19-year-olds, that's just not true. You see, the University of Michigan study included 18 and 19-year-olds in their data set of deaths, something that they incorporated when they slid the word, quote, adolescent into their headlines, just like how I mentioned that coming out of the introduction, slid the word adolescent in there. But just like now, you probably maybe missed the fact that I said adolescent. And apparently professional journalists, as well as grifters who deleted the word adolescent and therefore created the lie that it was all children. The problem? Well, other than being nakedly untrue, those 2 years of deaths for 18 and 19-year-olds alone account for about half, or about 47.9%, as the National Shooting Sports Foundation pointed out when they crunched the numbers themselves of those deaths in question. Wow. So basically, the anti-self-defense advocates, and let's make no bones about it, that's what you are if you want to deny people the tools to defend themselves. Just like you would be anti-free speech if you want to deny people the time and place and tools and so forth in order to give a speech about whatever it is that they want to talk about, right? The anti-self-defense advocates thought that they could almost double the number of child deaths and brush the truth under the rug. Multiple problems become clear with this picture, and I'm going to give you the real number of unintentional children deaths from firearms in the USA each year from a study that I linked below in the description box, so stick around. But before I do, guys, help me get this message out there because I'm so sick and tired of seeing this 100% untrue statistic bandied about. Be sure to press like, which will tell the YouTube algorithm other people need to see this video. Be sure to comment below what you think about this, what other topics like this you think I need to be getting into to debunk. And of course, be sure to obviously post this up. I would suggest at least posting up this video if you see someone next time link this topic. And if you want to help fund our research into things like this, because topics like this take a little bit of time, also please consider humbly joining our membership program. Check that out as well. The first problem, we are in an information war with people who are happy to knowingly and intentionally lie to win. The data and information along with the ethics and history are all stacked on our side. Even so, exaggerating child fatalities feels pretty low, even for anti-self-defense advocates. The second problem here is the people who are repeating this lie are largely getting away with it. Despite telling not only the bold-faced lie, but a whopper of a bold-faced lie to nearly double the numbers, there has not been enough, if any, major pushback that I have seen out there. There are groups, I already mentioned the NSSF, who've put out studies and so forth, but the fact that I encountered that for the very first time when I finally decided to knuckle down and research this out tells you something. I see this quote unquote fact about firearms being the leading cause of death in children repeated about once a week, if not more, and it has got to stop. The third problem, according to the study linked below, the actual number of children deaths, which the study focused on. When I say children deaths to you, what are you probably thinking? You're probably thinking some kid got a hold of grandpa's gun or something like that, right? Or kids showing off his dad's gun to a neighbor kid or something like that. You're probably not thinking about a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old, let alone a 19-year-old or an 20-year-old or whatever, who has joined some sort of gang or something like that. They're drug dealers, they're breaking into people's homes and things like that. That's probably not what you're thinking of. That really falls into a separate group of statistics. When we think about children's deaths, we're thinking about people who are robbed of life in its infancy before they've had a chance to do anything. And at least to me, I'm thinking of people who are just completely innocent. I found a study that actually looks into how many children age 14 and under, see how I'm being transparent here, folks, age 14 and under who were killed by firearms. And they found that when looking at these unintentional deaths, the number nationally, it's not 4,357. It's about 88 to 110 per year nationally. And that's not to say that 88 to 110 is remotely acceptable. There's plenty of groups, including, by the way, the NSSF, who have partnered with many different organizations, including, by the way, the ATF, in order to try to do everything possible to push those numbers down. And by the way, if you think 88 to 110 is low, that I'm cherry picking numbers, then I'll also point out that, oh, by the way, the same study that I'm citing below also cites two anti-self-defense gun grabbing groups themselves, like Moms Demand Action and so forth. So this probably isn't a study that's been put out by some sort of pro-Second Amendment think tank or something like that. In the study, they actually acknowledge that those numbers, the 88 to 110, by the way, are also 80% higher than the ones reported by the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, when they go through and they kind of tick off their own reasons for finding fault in that. So the CDC actually comes out with much lower numbers. So I'm giving you the high numbers, my bottom line here. So I'm not doing what NPR did. And there you have it, the totality of the lie and its enormous size made bare. I hope that you consider linking this video every single time you see someone trot this lie out there. But I would also ask that you do so, as you should always do so, in a calm and respectful way whenever you're discussing the Second Amendment. Remember, you are an ambassador every time you step up to the plate to defend the Second Amendment, and you are a steward for future generations, and so much more. Always use respect and integrity when discussing these and other hot-button issues. Don't sink to their level. Now, guys, lastly, if you want to see me do a breakdown more in depth in this topic, if you want to see me go into the statistical categories and subcategories of how children actually are harmed by firearms, let me know in the comment section below as well. Any homicide or injury, especially a child's, is tragic and brutal. But again, in my mind, separating out innocent children who found a firearm that they should have never had access to is not the same problem as an 18-year-old drug dealer who got killed in a gang war shootout or something like that, just to choose a category here. And I don't think that we should be combining those categories as the anti-self-defense people do. Thanks for sticking around this video. We will see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.